Welcome to the Green Light Pod. We're on the road. This is much different than our usual Charlottesville set. Radio Row, Miami. Got great guests here. We're going to have Boomer Esiason. We're going to have Matt Patricia, my former coach. Kyle Long's with us. And then the home run for, we're going to get Dr. Oz. I mean, this is like, I'm going to fucking fanboy out. I could talk to Dr. Oz for an hour, but we'll have him for a couple minutes. So stick around. It'll be a great show. Welcome to the Green Light podcast, road show, antique road show. A couple washed up NFL players
I was going to say we are, yeah.
Yeah. This is Making Gunner. Oh, no, it's not. It's my brother Kyle Long.
Yes.
My normal co-host is slinging real estate back in Virginia. So I found this big-ass dude wandering South Beach.
Is he healthy enough to be slinging real estate right now?
Yeah, shout out to him. Prayers to him. He has a bicep issue. He got an MRI the other day, so thoughts and prayers.
We're thinking about you, Macon.
I'm live here from Miami, where last night I didn't realize that there were really two units of alcohol in martinis, so I thought I was...
That's the text I got from Chris this morning. Is martini one or two drinks?
Hey, I did a thing where I do a drink log to see, monitor my consumption. And I look at it in the morning, I'm like, man, this does not feel like a 9-drink night.
Beer, bottle of water, beer, bottle of water, beer, bottle of water.
Man, for me it was, hold on.
That's how it's done.
Martini, tequila shot, martini, Peroni, Corona.
That's my speed.
Mexican beer,
You went from Peroni to Corona?
Yeah, I was all over the globe.
You were ordering Peroni, you were like, Corona. Peronas. I want a piranha.
Just give me a fish.
Give me a bucket of fish.
Give me a bucket of piranha.
I'm gonna eat it.
The worst part is you get back to the room, and this is usually a bad sign. I assaulted the minibar. I just assaulted, it was more the Pringles is what I was after. When you bust open the Pringles at 3 a.m.
And your hands are too big, so you have to pour it?
Oh, it's a low point. It's just a low point. And I woke up, I'm working on about 4 hours of sleep here, come down to Radio Row, because content is king. And there are people out here we got to talk to. We're going to have a number of great guests here today, including my brother Kyle. Newly retired, love it. I love to see you on this side.
I'm on hiatus, so you never know.
Yeah, we all never know, but good luck getting uncomfortable again. I'm just telling you, one fall out. There was a time where I was like, yeah, I'm going to come back. I'm going to go play for the Eagles, or I'll go play somewhere else.
There's no shot of me playing ever again.
Once you spend multiple months out, it becomes really hard. You don't realize how uncomfortable you were for so long.
I would say you don't realize how good life is until you're out of football.
It's the joke's on us.
Shit.
The joke's on us. I did this my entire 20s, like the prime of my life. Now it's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting a taste of what normal life is like. So we got a number of guests today. I know we have Boomer Esiason coming on.
That'll be good.
He's here with Hummus.
I love hummus.
The guys got their partnerships, right? Their sponsorship partnerships. I was here yesterday with Narcan. That was a really good partnership for me because I really believe in what they're doing. Boomer evidently believes in hummus. I believe in hummus. My son Waylon loves hummus. So we'll give Boomer a chance to plug Sabra Hummus and talking about the Super Bowl. Boomer played in '88. People forget about that game. He drove him right down the field before Montana took over, and he had won the game for him until the Niners offense.
It's unfortunate how history chooses to remember things.
Yeah.
And how close
things
are from being massively different
yep.
in the history books.
And I know the Bengals have like sort of a tortured fan base, but if you're a young Bengals fan, you might not remember those golden years where
it's probably worth a watch. Get on YouTube, go check it out.
Go check it out. There's some good old footage. And by the way, they had some fire unis in the 80s. I'm always talking about unis.
Well, the Anthony Munoz tapes.
Saw him yesterday.
The nicest guy I met yet.
Who's the coolest dude you've seen here?
Anthony, because you see him across the room as an offensive lineman, offensive tackle, and I say, that's one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT.
And he has an aura.
Then he walks up to you and you get twisted fingers on your arm.
Like, hey, buddy.
And he's like, Kyle.
Yeah, yep.
Hey, soft-spoken.
And the funniest thing was, when I was at the Pro Bowl with with Dad, maybe before you were born, but actually it was probably like 88 or 90 or something, so it was right around when you came into the world and, you know, got spawned in a ball of lightning like Terminator.
Yeah.
I got stuck on an elevator with Anthony Munoz's family
told
for
me that
well
story.
over
45
an hour.
minutes, they
yeah,
said.
it felt like forever. You know, third floor in Hawaii, claustrophobic. This is before cell phones.
Yes.
I'm 3 years old. I'm terrified.
His wife told me the story.
Yep. So that was the coolest person you saw.
Yep. You probably, or number 2, you're a pretty cool guy.
Thank you.
You're hard. Anybody who wears a denim jacket like this with the shades on the neck, pretty cool.
I'm pretty damn cool now.
Top 10 cool.
I showed up, my boy Zolak from New England. If you know Zolak's got the shades on for another reason because he's been out. Well, I guess I could use that excuse this morning, but Zolak had the shades on unapologetically here yesterday on Radio Row. The entire day, making content with shades on.
That's great.
So what's your policy on shades indoor at Radio Row?
It crossed my mind because all these bright lights, I had LASIK last year, so my eyes are sensitive to light. And if I were to wear these, I'd be the content creator. You could shine all the lights in the world at me.
This is the world's
Tiniest
smallest violin
yes.
for your LASIK. I mean, like, how did the early settlers do it? You know, without LASIK.
It must have been tough.
It must have, actually, it would have been tough. Can you imagine if you couldn't get like contact lenses back in Revolutionary War
Well, you
time?
had to go hunt to get your stuff. You had to.
You couldn't even see what the fuck was going on. So we're going to talk about the game today. We're going to talk about a couple issues that arose last night. I took some notes. I'm in total. My life is in shambles.
You took notes on the issues that arose last night. I can assure you, you have a lot of notes.
Do you eat?
I saw you this morning.
Here's what the notes read. Do you eat olives in your martini?
I don't order martinis.
If you were to eat, like the folks offset here, back behind the camera, okay? If you get a martini, is it acceptable to eat the olives? So guys are saying that's why they order a martini. That makes me feel a lot better because I couldn't tell.
I'm not going out with those guys.
I couldn't tell if I was a moron or not. You know, they say don't put a lemon in your water. It's the dirtiest thing at a restaurant. I'm sure the olives aren't far behind.
The shell.
But I'm chomping them down.
The bone on the lemon.
Hey, what up, baby? Good to see you.
The bone on the lemon. How you doing, man?
Welcome to the Green Light Pod. Friend of the program here. Look at him walking by. There you go. Baker. Nice shirt.
You missed that I called the lemon skid the bone of the lemon, by the way.
Oh, I missed that because I was talking to Baker.
Yeah. He's pretty cool, though.
He is cool, and I think he's going to have a really good year next year. I think Stefanski.
Do you know he lives at the stadium?
Baker, yeah, I've seen it on TV.
It's crazy.
Great. By the way, great actor.
Yeah.
Great actor.
Tremendous.
Really is. Like, terrific. But I think he's going to have a good year next year, and I think that we're going to find out real quick in Minnesota. We're going to find out in Minnesota that, you know, whether it was Stefanski or Kubiak or, you know, if it was Kirk that had all that passing game success this year. I actually like the hire there in Cleveland. You know, I'm like everybody else. I want to see Bieniemy get a job, but if it wasn't him, Stefanski's not a bad hire. He has paid his dues. I know he's got that young face, but he's been in the league. He's the longest tenured Vikings coach, the guy who just came from the Vikings to be the head coach in Cleveland. So the martini thing is settled. You can eat the olives. Do you
eat bar nuts?
Yes, I eat bar nuts.
Yeah, same. Same as when they hand you the hot nuts on the plane. It's like, thank you.
Those hot nuts on the plane, they like after 2 batches of them.
10 out of 10,
totally
my favorite thing on the plane. Warm.
You're bougie, flying first
nuts.
class. Also, you didn't go out last night, so you're feeling pretty fresh and good.
Yeah, I haven't been out yet.
You just playing video games in the room?
No, just hanging out, man. I walk around, get some food. I like being in the warm air. It's nice, but then I get to bed early.
Go look at the manatees.
Yell at some animals. See animals.
Who do you like Sunday? Before we get into some of these guys?
I like San Francisco a lot. It's their complete team. It's hard to pick against Patty Mahomes.
But you just did it.
He's the best quarterback in the league, but when you have the most complete team in the league, that often trumps it.
Supersedes it.
I saw it with the Eagles a few years ago against the Patriots.
Yeah, we were a better team.
And a defensive front that was dominant.
Yeah, that was a good D-line.
And, you know, you may know a little bit about that storyline, but that's why I'm picking the Niners. As an offensive lineman, I know how much of an issue a tremendous defense can cause to an entire game plan.
And, you know, as good as we were in that Super Bowl, we got run through like, you know, what do they say? Shit through a goose? What do they say?
But it happens.
Yeah, I mean 41-33 won a
But you had
shootout.
enough.
Yeah, we did enough. We made one play when we had to, and I think that's what's going to have to happen.
And your lockdown coverage on the reverse swing pass
Yep.
to Brady was
People forget.
exceptional.
People forget.
You're like a safety. You're like a blanket, Richard Sherman.
I am like an old white Richard Sherman. Yeah. I mean, and I play man all the time. I know there's been some man zone conversation.
Oh, I know.
I was in man. I was manned up on Tom Brady.
Yeah, Chris.
Another thing I noticed in my notes last night, I got made fun of. I went out to dinner with Ryan and Big Cat, right? So I cut my steak up. Did you see this?
Did you just name drop two of the biggest media members?
Well, it's going to be, we're media,
Miami?
media moguls now.
Oh my God.
So look at this steak here. For the people out
I
there.
saw it. It's grossed me out. Your element. Is that your
So
steak or
people, can they
Russillo's?
see this on the camera? And people listening out there, this is my steak last night at Quality Meats. People were making fun of me because I cut my fucking steak up before I
Why
eat
do you
it.
do that?
I'm 34 years old. Nobody's ever complained about this to me.
No, but I didn't ask how old you were. I said, why do you do that?
Because I want to eat my fucking steak. I don't want to wait, take a bite, cut, take a bite, cut, take a bite. Not my thing. I want to eat the steak. Is this weird?
I feel like I'm talking to Joe Goldberg from You,
I don't get the reference.
which is the thriller murder mystery that I've been watching recently, and you
Evidently
have some of
nobody
these
else is watching.
tendencies.
Somebody did call me a serial killer for cutting my steak up that way.
It's weird.
Do y'all cut your steak before you?
You cool
So
your
I've been-
steak off quicker.
Yeah,
You
people.
cool your steak off quicker. The juices go out. There's a litany of reasons.
This is
to
life
keep
changing.
your steak uncut.
I bet everybody would criticize me if I just picked the fucking thing up and started gnawing on it. Though,
It's
too.
the
You
same
can't
thing
win.
they say when you get a deep dish pizza in Chicago. Do you want it cut or uncut?
Overrated.
And they say, keep it
Overrated.
uncut. Well, everybody's got opinions. It's okay.
I am not a deep dish pizza guy.
But they do ask you, do you want it cut or uncut? Because, and I always say cut, and they're like, you're not a purist. In the same sense as I just want to eat the pizza. I want
Yeah,
it to
so
be
I'm not
prepared.
a purist when it comes to the steak.
And
I
that's
guess.
okay.
Best pizza place while we're on it in Chicago. Shout somebody out.
Local for me, Ferrantino's in Lake Forest. They always take care of me.
Of course they do. They always take care of me. If I go to Ferrantino's, will they take care of me?
Well, they'll be on time with your order. Yeah, that's,
Okay, good.
that's the way they do it.
Okay, good. So my read on the game Sunday, bouncing around here. Initially, I was on the over. That number's been sitting at like 55. I kind of got talked out of the over. I think it's actually due to the fact that I think both teams do really well limiting big plays. I do think Spags is going to sell out to stop the run and make Jimmy G beat them. But I still think that big plays are going to be hard to come by. I think it's actually going to be a relatively lower scoring game than you think. A lot of nerves. Defenses usually show up in Super Bowls. I think even with the offensive minds that are calling plays and have 2 weeks respectively to plan, I think the defenses will play better than you think, even on the Kansas City side. So I'm liking Kansas City, let's say 29-27.
I've got
Let's do
I've got a way of thinking about it where it's like the defenses are going to be the unsung heroes, and I think that with turnovers comes more points. I was thinking the under as well.
Yeah.
But if there are turnovers and there are forced mistakes,
Then it could.
sudden changes.
Yeah.
I've been on a team before with not a great offense that's put up 50 points like that
Yeah.
because of sudden change.
Right.
As you alluded to, defenses. But I'll go
Did you just take a shot at your Bears offenses?
in the past, yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah, I did.
I'm not pulling apart my take on
But
it.
I would say San Francisco 35-28.
Okay.
35-31.
Okay. Did you hear the crazy, eerie, I did this on the pod the other day. We'll see if I can actually remember it. The similarities between the 94 team that won a Super Bowl right here in Miami at Joe Robbie Stadium. Steve Young, Jerry Rice beat the Chargers up. It's an easily forgettable Super Bowl, not competitive. And then this year's team, you got a Shanahan calling the plays on both teams. You've got two big acquisitions at the linebacker and defensive backfield spots in Ken Norton Jr. through trades and Deion Sanders. You got Quan Alexander, Richard Sherman. You have two quarterbacks who are backing up Hall of Famers in Steve Young and Jimmy Garoppolo. And they're 2 of 4. Let me see if I can stick the landing to win a Super Bowl as backups and be back as starters. So there's like a ton of eerie eerie similarities between the two teams.
You're gonna have to write that down.
That's my Russ Cole moment.
Like we did your Russ Cole board at
Yep,
the podcast studio, but we're gonna have to do that again.
Yeah. So
For that.
so that's kind of all I got on the game. Otherwise, like I'm just trying to survive down here.
I'm thinking we talk about the over red.
Too much red.
I feel like I'm at a Lannister
It's
self-suck party.
It's too much. I'm getting confused on the teams, etc. Okay, let me pose this question to you. Who's the scariest D lineman on the field? You're an offensive lineman. You played 7 years in the league. You've seen them all.
Scariest in this game?
In this game.
When healthy, the biggest problem is Chris Jones.
I agree.
When healthy.
Why is he so good?
Because the combination of his get off, his strength, and his physicality, and he's so long.
Yeah.
People don't get how long he is.
He's a tall motherfucker.
And he's a big kid, and he's competitive.
Yeah, he's really competitive. And you know what I like about him is he wins at the line. As twitchy as he is,
He's twitchy.
He's very laterally. I mean, like he'll drop people. It's not like he has blockers hanging on him when he picks up his sacks.
Yes.
He's gonna win right now, and he's just super disruptive. And because obviously
He has a plan.
he has a plan. A guy that I did not know too much about coming out of Mississippi State. That's where he went to school,
And
right?
it's funny because-
Mississippi State, Chris Jones.
It's funny because guys like Chris Jones and Fletcher,
Yes.
you see them and you say, I have to gear up for a heavyweight fight. And the next thing you know, they're doing lightweight shit to
Yeah,
you.
lightweight stuff. Oh, I can't tell who's who. Look at this. Guys, welcome to the
What's
pod.
up, my brother?
Where's my guy?
What's up, my brother?
Where's Howie Jr.? He's supposed to be sitting right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
These
how
guys
you
are
doing?
He's
related.
supposed to be sitting right there, man.
What's up,
Oh, we
dude?
both wear our hat, man.
Let's go!
Oh, we wear the same shirt. We're twins. That means we were born at the same time. Who cares? I'm over it. How long
Born
are you
together.
how long are you gonna talk about that fucking gimmick? Big deal. We staggered
We
it.
both have beards.
We were born different years. What the fuck? Who cares? We're brothers too.
Great dudes, the McCourties.
The McCourties are great dudes.
The biggest smartasses.
But like literally the twin thing is fucked up because I played with Dev and one time his brother Jason like showed up to this meeting at the league office and I went to dap him up like it was Dev and he smiled big. He's like, you don't know who I am. You don't know which one I am, do you? And for a second I didn't know.
That's
I
gotta
felt
be
like
hard.
a moron.
In junior high, I dated an identical twin, and that was a crazy experience.
Don't name drop, don't dox.
I won't. But I dated an identical twin, and it was, as you get to know them more, and it was briefly, and
How was junior high dating?
for me, very awkward. I sounded like this. Everything was weird.
Yes!
That open seat?
Get
yes!
over
Here, you sit in
here.
the middle. Guest of honor.
Forget about it.
Now we're talking.
Look,
Now we can
guys,
talk
guys,
some
for
ball.
the people
I got
listening,
you.
yeah, I'm Mike, so you get the people listening. We're not even going to break here to talk to Matty P. Matt Patricia, head football coach of the Detroit Football Lions.
You guys got some nice chairs. It's a good setup.
We're comfortable people. And formerly, my D coordinator in New England. We won a ring together.
We did.
Special fucking year.
Yep.
And wear of comfortable shirts.
Yeah.
Tommy Bahama, is that?
It is. I like. I need some room.
Yeah.
I'm not the in shape guys. I don't have that going for
But
me
the
right now.
beard is-
So
the beard is down.
yeah. That's my diet program. So I pretty
So
much
it's tapered
I
in,
let it grow as wide as possible. I put on about 60 pounds during the season, and then when I trim it down, everyone's like, "God, you look great. Did you lose weight?" I was like, "Yes, I did."
I
Yes,
said
did.
that to
Yeah,
you.
really.
I'm like,
Oversell,
God, you look-
overproduce.
I said,
Exactly.
you look
Exactly.
fucking great.
Yeah.
And you go, nah, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
not even close. I'm like a biscuit away from like not making it.
So one of my favorite coaches here, Matty P, is my mic falls off. It
Hey,
is
let
nice.
me ask him a question.
Yeah,
while
ask
you
him a
fix
question.
that.
An NFC
Because one
North
of the things
question.
that I want to pick people's brains about is you've had a unique opportunity to hang out with both of us at work
yes,
together,
Yes.
joint practices.
yes.
Can you talk a little bit about
You
what
broke my
that
rib,
was
you
like
fucking
Yeah,
asshole.
seeing one of your guys
I
and his
was,
brother?
I thought it looked like kind of like, a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old in the living room trying to wrestle. That's kind of what it looked like to me right
Trying
there.
to
Because that
wrestle.
was one of my favorite
trying,
weeks.
Yeah.
Trying. It was.
That
And
was-
you know what? Here's the thing. You're much more vocal all the time.
Yeah.
But when you finally go vocal,
Yeah.
you're much more pissed.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
it's like serious.
Yeah.
So obviously there was those points where, and knowing your dad came in, yelled at you, And then when Dad left, you yelled at him because it was his fault.
Yeah.
Like you could see that dynamic.
I did. I
play
got
out.
blamed for everything. He would break a lamp,
Right.
and I would get grounded.
And then you would take it out on him
And then
later.
I'm blaming Mom and Dad because the lamp
he's
was
the
weak.
favorite, Matt.
Right.
He's
right.
the favorite.
I
so-
mean, listen, I know how that works.
Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah.
I have a sister. I have 2 sisters. Our middle
So you're
sister.
not the favorite?
Absolutely not even close. When I was born,
Any
it
other
was
head-
like
NFL
it
head
was,
coaches in your
Nah,
family?
she was in Phantom of the Opera. Like it totally blows me. You know, I don't even have a chance.
Okay.
I was like, take out the garbage, mow
sister was in
mow the
Phantom of
grass.
the Opera?
Yeah.
like the show,
Yeah.
the big show.
Yeah,
The
it's like
actual
20.
Not the
Phantom of the
minors.
Opera.
Yeah, no, she was on tour with the show. She was out of Broadway
Stop
for
it.
like 20 plus years. Yeah, it was amazing. Way tougher than, no offense, but most of the guys
Yeah,
I've coached.
yeah, no doubt
she's
about
like,
it.
she's a ballerina. It
No
was
doubt
like,
about it.
It was amazing.
That's insane.
yeah,
I
it's
didn't know, I didn't know about
Yep,
that.
yeah.
The first thing I want to ask you about, well, first off, that joint practice was fucked up because I beat him on a stunt.
Totally.
Did you see? Remember when I beat him on a stunt? And he
And
whipped
grabbed-
his big
yep,
tree.
yeah.
He cracked my rib.
Yep. Yeah. I
He cracked my rib
there
over
was-
nothing.
See, that's what I'm saying. There was more than just a practice. That was not over nothing. That was something
No,
that
but
happened.
that was so much fun
10,
for us.
yeah, 10 years
a
ago.
2-minute
that
drill.
It was. The only thing I remember is when you guys were walking on the field, I was mad.
Yeah.
So I put the 7-man sled out, and
Yeah.
I was like, we're hitting the 7-man. I don't care. I remember your coaches walking off going, what?
Yeah.
And,
After
Yeah.
they made us run hills,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't run, guys, ever. Don't make me run.
Oh, that hill. That
Garrett
hill,
Blood
which
goes,
was not
"Welcome to New
difficult.
England."
Yeah.
That hill was not difficult. It was just fucking annoying.
yeah, it was a mind. It was
It
a
was just
mindset.
more like,
It was a
we really
task.
got to
It's
go
a
there.
task.
It's cold.
It is.
And I
get
got to
it. We
really
have
get
a hill now.
outrun by Shaq Mason
Yeah.
every time. And Bill
And get
used to
yelled
stand
at.
at
Yeah.
the top of the hill and go,
Yeah.
Shaq!
Yeah.
How many times did
Yeah.
Bill just say, Shaq?
Every time.
Shaq
Shaq
was
never
winning.
lost.
Never lost.
There
But
might,
that's why
there
he's
might
really
be a hill
good.
in Detroit.
There might be a hill.
There
You
might
got
be a
to
hill.
find one.
You know what? No, I might already have
I hear
one.
there's a hill in Chicago.
They built one.
That's the rumor.
I built one in Detroit.
You're going to build a hill.
I already did.
I never
We built
ran
it last
at it.
year.
Okay.
I never
You
ran
got
at
out?
ours.
So the Bears related content here, indirectly, one of the biggest things I remember about that Super Bowl run, and I love this, and I talk about it, at the end of camp days, I just want to go the fuck home. Everybody knows players want to go home. It's 10 at night. This dude would keep us late. I'd be like, Matt, what the hell are we doing? And then we turn on this video
Yeah.
of the 85 Bears.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Yeah. Perspective.
But we used to sit in camp, and
Yeah.
Matt used to say, this is the goal here. We want to be like the 85 Bears. Of course, we were the number one scoring defense in the league, and we had a badass group. But I also thought that the sum of our parts was better than,
Yeah.
however they say it. I mean, I don't think we had any superstars. We just were all like, we were a good team.
Yeah, everybody working together.
But we watched that Chicago Bears, that thing. Where did you find it?
It was the 30
And,
for
like,
30 special.
Yeah.
That, it was something that I watched that really resonated with me. And but I thought what was great about it, as much as the great team and all teams are different, but I always think the perspective of players that have played, that have been on championship teams, and you listen to those guys, Mike Singletary, you listen to those guys talk about what it meant to them, and Hampton, talking about coming out of the tunnel and listening to the crowd. And I just thought it was something for us at that time that was like, hey, don't forget, like this is going to go by really fast, and we've got something special. We got to build on it. Let's appreciate it, and let's be that.
And
let's
the
be that
brotherhood.
at the end. And the brotherhood is the number
You
one
could
thing.
still feel it in the interviews.
Tangible, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And it's something I said to you guys the night before the Super Bowl. I said, when you win this game, you're bonded for life.
Yeah.
And it's true. I've been on the ones that have lost, and those are great teams, and I love those guys. But when you walk off that field and the confetti's coming down, and you're crying, and you're telling grown men around you love them, and you mean it, and the sacrifice that everybody went through to be there, you can call me anytime, and you know this.
Yeah,
and I'll
that's
do
the way it
anything.
is.
I'll do anything at any time
And
for you.
likewise, that's the
And-
way it is.
And that's what happens
Yeah.
with those teams.
I
and
saw
that's what's so
Landon
great.
yesterday. I saw
Yeah.
Hero.
Yeah.
You run into guys you hadn't seen in years. And you don't even have to win a Super Bowl, but it just enhances that
Yeah.
brotherhood where you'll always be together.
Yeah.
So that run, I mean, everybody remembers 28-3. When I sign an autograph for a Pats fan, I write 28-3.
Yep.
It's like one of my favorite things, but there were moments in there through the year that I'm sure you remember that were less heralded moments. What do you remember about the year? Were there moments that were under the radar, turning points for us that stuck out?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I mean, I think there's always points in the season where things get going, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, it's about to light up.
Yeah.
It's about to light and fire.
about to go
It's about to
down.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had that confidence about it, and it's usually right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of those games where it's not great, but when everybody walks back in the building on, Monday or whatever it is, it's that's not going to happen again.
And that
you
was
could feel
you guys
that.
did that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that was what I liked about what Bill did, and I wonder if you do this in Detroit, is, having everybody in the meeting room so they get it at the same time,
Yeah.
and everybody's on the same page. That was very unique, and I'm talking about, of course, Mondays for people that didn't play in the league, and Kyle, you know this from having different coaches. Not every coach, hits you square in the forehead with it on Monday.
Some teams
in
don't
front
have
of
team
the,
meetings.
They don't have team meetings.
Some
So I thought
coaches,
that was
rather.
really cool. I mean, anybody could get it in that meeting. I used to be sitting up there with my ass so tight,
Hey.
like, don't let it be me.
You want to be the guy at the end that says, now we're going to watch this guy from the game.
Yeah.
Bill wasn't
and
doing.
this guy's ready every play.
Bill wasn't doing too much of the we're gonna
highlights,
watch this
more
guy. He was
lowlights.
There's
more
only
lowlights.
one guy that last year that I watched on film, and that was Allen Robinson. I couldn't even tie my own shoes last year. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
But you put the film on, and that's a guy I can speak to
That was
without
playing
putting
hard.
other people down.
Yeah.
Allen Robinson,
He's great.
a man.
He's unbelievable. And, I remember him from even before,
God.
playing against him in the AFC. And just an unbelievable player. And every week you'd put that tape on. But the same thing as far as walking into those team meetings Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, saying, all right, fellas, look, this is what we got to do. And just being able to spell that out. So you could be a defensive player, but if you're listening, you're going to know exactly what the offense needs to do. And I think that's what builds that.
I learned football.
And you learn football.
Like, I knew
and
football.
That's what built.
But there's a difference, and I always say this about Bill, and the reason and people ask me why he's the greatest. Listen, like, me and Bill didn't agree on everything. Like, that's what working in the NFL is like. But he's the greatest head coach of all time, and I believe that because he can walk around the building and coach the positions as well as every position coach. Save for Scar.
If not better.
Save for Scar.
Scar's unbelievable too. And those he's probably one of those guys that's
He's walking away, huh?
That's like the most underrated assistant coach in the history of the game. I mean, he's probably the best offensive line coach in the history. And he's one of those guys that's just always under the radar. And I worked on that side of the ball for 2 years. I was the assistant O-line coach, and learning from him, it's just really.
But it's
special.
that comprehensive knowledge that you need to be a head coach.
Yeah.
Is that the hardest thing about being a head coach? Is now, like, what surprised you about, like, damn, I have that responsibility now?
Yeah, not every head coach does that. Some head coaches stay on their side. I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy being, in every room,
involved.
talking offense, talking special teams, talking defense, or, certainly I've been trained to look at it from both perspectives.
Yeah.
So I'm going to walk into the offense and be like, hey, look, they got this blitz check, they're going to here, but if we do this, this, and this, like, they don't have an answer for it. And it's just sometimes, from my perspective, I can help those guys out and just give them some advice. So
the culture, there's always that fine line, because, like, when the New England thing, when you leave New England, people are like, is he going to be Bill? Is he going to act too much like Bill? I think you got a great mix of Bill and yourself. I mean, everybody acts like who they, to a degree, like who they learn from.
Yep.
I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, were you cognizant of, like, that challenge of, I got to be me, but I got to bring that culture that we learned in New England, and how have the guys helped you translate that, the guys you brought over?
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part is instantly when you are around one place for so long, they tag you as that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's not me. Like, I'm still me. I'm going to be my personality. And, you guys in the defensive room, you see that. And, it doesn't mean I'm not fired. It doesn't mean I'm not fiery. Doesn't mean I don't want to win.
You are.
Doesn't mean I'm not intense. But that's still
different ways to be intense.
That's still me. But I do believe in what we were taught there.
Yeah.
And I do think that's where you got to start. And I think what's been neat for me now going into year 3 is that we're building the Detroit Lions. We're not building New England. Yeah. So for us, it's about, all right, here's our foundation. This is what we're going to believe in the first couple years. How has it grown? And now the guys that we have, and really the great players that were there. Matthew Stafford. We're building around him.
And
he's already
he's a hell of a player.
He's unbelievable.
Great dude too.
Unbelievable guy. Amazing person. Great player. Better human being.
Underappreciated in the league.
Yeah.
Totally underappreciated.
Totally underappreciated.
Yeah.
And everything he does off the field and as a teammate. And his toughness, it's unbelievable. So we build around that, but we have a foundation and a principle we believe in, and we're bringing guys in, we're building the guys that are there, and I really enjoyed coaching the team because I know, like, we didn't have a great year, but I thought our team fought hard.
Good team,
I
though.
think they
team.
played
I don't care what they're like. You guys, when we talked about, like. And I'm always pulling for you guys. There were just bad breaks early, and every team has them, but you guys are close, man. And how hard is that, to keep a team that's having this bad luck happen and keep their heads up and not, like, how do you walk the fine line of getting in their ass when you need to, but building them up.
Yeah, it's a great great question. I mean, but you have to have that compliment because you can't ignore the bad football. You got to make sure you address it from that standpoint. You coach it and teach it. But I think the guys were real receptive to that. I think the bigger thing for us was, and really, I know the situation I walked into, and we haven't had success in a long time.
Right.
But it's just that mindset of like something bad happens, and it's like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, here we go again.
Right.
Like, I don't care what happened before.
Right.
This is what we're gonna be, and we got to push through that and forget about that, and that's what we're trying to get to. And hopefully we can build for that next year.
How's my boy Dola?
He's great. I mean, he's the same, 1,000 miles an hour,
FaceTime me
all the time,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And I love him.
Yeah.
I absolutely
Yeah.
love him.
Yeah.
And just it was a pleasure to be around him again, just because the energy, the demand that he creates. And I really think he helped the guys that we had. Kenny and Marv are great players, and Danny brings a whole new level of intensity. And I think those three, like, they just fed off, with each other. So
Coach, you got 32-team battle royale. One player from each team shows up. Who's your contestant, and who do you think league-wide leaves the room?
Wow, that is an awesome question. That is an awesome question. Okay, battle royale.
And how would I submit them?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, I think we can put Stafford out there, and he's not
He
going to
would
tap
be willing
out.
to,
And he's not going to tap out. So, you're going to have to just completely get him out.
I know it wouldn't be Esiason.
In the league.
In the whole league? Aaron
just know.
Donald.
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald's a guy who I was
And he's
with Aaron
got
last
leverage.
night.
Like,
He's got great-
When Aaron
he's
Donald
got
grabs
great
you,
leverage.
it's
Yeah.
like you
That's
feel
a
like
real
it's
bear
a bear.
grabbing
Yeah, it's
me.
a real little
No
bear.
doubt.
It's a little bear.
Yeah.
It might be a cub, but
There's
it's a
probably
fucking
there's
bear.
probably an offensive lineman somewhere though that you just know in the end you're not.
I like
gonna
Snacks.
Snacks is
I think Snacks
he can handle a lot in
could
there.
hold his own.
He can hold his own.
What's
I'm
up?
picking Akeem for our team. He's just a monster.
I
Akeem
coached him
Hicks,
too.
yeah.
Yes.
So, and he's great. And
I
would
forget
agree.
that.
Yeah. He came to us.
He knows how to piss me off.
I mean, that's kind of part of his job.
Yeah.
Right? Is, just to get
Yeah.
you going a little
They
bit.
piss each other
But,
off. Before I let you go, Matty P, give me one reason why Detroit is an underrated city. Because I think a lot like Philly, okay?
Yeah.
Like, they're not the same, but when I came
No
to
doubt.
Philly, you hear all this bullshit, and it's
Yeah.
my favorite place.
Absolutely.
So tell me about Detroit
and it's
and
the
why
same
it's
thing.
underrated.
I think obviously, you get the one vision of what it is, but it's not. And you get out into the different areas of Detroit, or you go to the areas downtown where the stadiums are, and it's amazing. The reason I love it, and you guys know this, I love blue collar.
Yeah.
I just love
Yeah.
grind it out, hard work. People that aren't afraid to roll up their sleeves and go, and that's what the city is,
Yeah.
and that's what I relate to. It's amazing is, I'm rolling to work. It's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm like trying to get to the office, and I'm like, what are all the cars doing on the road? Like, because I'm half awake. So
Detroit
it's a
people are-
danger.
That's
Detroit
all
people-
NFC North is like
Yeah,
that.
they're going to work. They're
Yeah.
like hitting third shift, and they're and you get in that, and you're like,
That's badass.
oh, they're working. All right,
Yeah.
I'm going to work.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We're all going to work right now to get better.
And it feels good when you're playing in a city that matches the tone that you're trying to set
No
on
doubt.
the team.
No
so.
doubt. And I think they relate to it.
Well, I'm
They're
rooting for
gonna
you
love
guys,
you
man.
guys
It's
in
one of my few
success.
favorite teams now.
I
Matty P,
appreciate it.
thanks for joining
Thanks
us,
a lot,
buddy.
Coach.
Yeah, great to
Yeah,
see you guys.
one of my
always.
favorites, man.
You guys are the best. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
you.
Love
Text
you,
me
buddy.
later, man. Love
Yeah,
you, man. Okay, yeah.
You tell my guy 9-1 what up.
I will.
He doesn't like me much.
Who?
Sean Robinson.
Oh, yeah. See you, bud. Thank you so
great.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Fun.
told you I'd be back.
Fun.
Excited
Yeah,
to get
appreciate
better.
you. Thanks.
Yeah.
You're taking off the next
Yeah,
one.
okay, cool. Yeah.
I
Get
gotta
out of here, Coach.
Get out of the camera. Slide back
Go
over.
pack a
Go back
dip.
down.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks a lot. Okay. So that was Matt
Dude,
Patricia.
he's the fucking
He's the best.
coolest.
He's a lot of fun to play for. He's gonna work you hard. You're gonna work your ass off. of
It's
course.
coaches like that that make me so glad I'm done playing because I know he just demands excellence.
Listen, I'd love to go drink a beer with Matty P. I'd do it anytime I could. But to go back to practice and have Matty P yelling at me.
Yeah.
I mean, as fun as it was, he's a tough coach, and you know what? He gets the most out of his players. I think if Matt can stay healthy, I worry about that shoulder stuff. But if he can stay healthy and they continue to build to get the run game going, they're not going to be bad. Because as you look at the NFC North now, you're just retiring.
It is up in the
You can speak
air.
a little more freely. Like there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, you don't know who's going to be where, what's going to be what, and honestly, with the things you were alluding to, with the progress that Detroit made under Matt Patricia, It's only a matter of time before Detroit is one of those spots in the NFC North that's in the running for it every year.
Right, absolutely. No, I mean, you know, if you're in Green Bay, you wonder how much longer A-Rod wants to do it. You know, they've also got issues defensively in Green Bay. You know, if you're in Chicago, there's issues there. I'm not going to make you speak on those. You know, if you're in Minnesota, you know, you've got coaching changes happening. Stefanski leaves. You know, you thought their window is kind of right now, so it's a win now thing for them, and you've got limitations that you might worry about with Kirk. So Detroit, you know, it's high time for them to make a move. Joining us here on the Green Light Road show down in Radio Row, Super Bowl Miami, is one of my favorite guys, Boomer Esiason, obviously a legend, 14-year career.
Yes.
4-time Pro Bowler, played in the Super Bowl, legend, and also a childhood friend of me and Kyle's. Kyle's
Childhood
here too.
friend.
Yeah.
I don't know about childhood
Who's the
friend.
best babysitter?
The best babysitter. Yeah, I visited your parents, and the three of you, Howie Jr., of course, all assaulted me on your couch. And your dad was laughing, and your mom was mortified.
Yeah,
and
well.
I'm like, what the hell? I mean, this was like, you were the oldest, so you had to be about 6.
Yeah.
You were probably about 4.
2 or 3, probably.
Right?
Yeah, but he looked
and
like he
little
was 4 or
Howie
5.
was like all over me. And it
Boom.
was like a madhouse.
Boomer's like, you were about 9, you were about 3.
Yeah.
Kyle's a big-ass toddler.
Yes,
so
he was.
He's still a big-ass
You know,
toddler.
you know what's amazing? So Lil Nas X just comes walking through here. And you're like, who's this guy with the cowboy hat? And I'm like, is he serious?
don't know
That's
either.
Lil Nas
Hey,
X.
Boomer, okay, Boomer now. So that's what Kyle said. Kyle said, he okay
We got
Boomer.
okay boomers.
Because
You did get okay,
We
Boomer.
go, who the hell is this guy in the cowboy? He goes, Nas X. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I
And
think.
I was like, who is? Oh, Lil Nas X.
so
Rodeo
you're here,
or
so
whatever.
you're here with hummus.
Yes.
Let's talk about hummus.
All right, Sabra Hummus. So I'm in a Super Bowl commercial because I think your dad wasn't available.
Yeah, okay,
So they
stop.
needed somebody. So it's interesting. Your dad and I have the same agent, as
Yeah.
you do, as you know.
Yeah.
So Steve Rosner calls me and says, hey, do you like hummus? I said, yeah, I love hummus.
He doesn't like hummus.
And then he says, do you want to do a Super Bowl commercial for Sabra Hummus? I'm like, now I really love hummus.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I got to be a part of a Super Bowl commercial. I'm one of about 8 or 9 different people, personalities
Yeah.
that are in it. So I have about a 5 or 6 second little bit in it, but I'm also in it because of my age, because I'm the okay boomer generation.
So we got to bring the boomers into the hummus game.
Of course,
Because
and-
my
and-
son loves hummus. Waylon, my
Yes.
3-year-old,
Big hummus
he'll
fan.
eat a bowl of hummus and no other food for dinner. I'm like, that's all he accepts. He only accepts hummus.
So look, it's all about keeping relevancy. So for me, being a part of this, and I'm in it with Charlie DiMatteo, who's a TikTok influencer.
TikTok. Now you're dropping more millennial knowledge.
That's me,
on
man. I know what's going on. So she's about 15. I think she's 15 years old. I've checked out a few of the TikTok videos.
Yeah.
She's got a couple that have like 4.5 million views. And
need
so it's about the dichotomy of her being the young and the TikTok generation,
Yeah.
and me, the okay boomer, part of the commercial. So it's great.
Well, I love it. I love hummus, and I love seeing my guys. So you played in the Super Bowl, and it was here in Miami.
Yes.
But you played in the Super Bowl, and it was here in Miami in the 80s.
Yes.
Okay.
Different.
So, like, what are the differences? Do you imagine these guys getting ready? You see Radio Row, you see probably their schedule, you know, what they can and can't do, and what guys were doing in the 80s.
Dude,
What were
you've
the
been through
challenges
this,
of
man.
being a leader?
Man, I'll tell you, we had a problem in the 80s because Miami was basically under lock and key. There's a portion of Miami called Overtown that was going through riots. It was a whole thing with the police and a killing and a shooting,
Yeah.
and it was ugly. And we were staying at a hotel right across the street from that part of the city. And I'll never forget the police chief telling us, look, whatever you do, don't make a left out of the hotel parking lot,
Yeah.
make a right
Right.
if you want to go to the beach,
Right.
because it wasn't like this. And that was the first year of that stadium that was called Pro Player Stadium or Joe Robbie Stadium, I think when
Robbie,
it first
right.
opened. And it was raining and all that other stuff. We also had a player who was suspended the night before the game. Stanley Wilson, who was our starting fullback, had been suspended 3 times because of drug use. Our head coach, Sam Weish, found him in his hotel room because he was missing from the night before meeting. And Sam was always a prankster and a little bit of a jokester for us to try to cut the edge off of things.
Yeah.
He then comes back to our meeting and he's crying.
Right.
And we're all wondering if he's just playing us.
Right.
And then he said, guys, I have some bad news. And then he said Stanley. And as soon as he said Stanley, we all knew he was talking about Stanley Wilson, our
Right.
former teammate. And he said, Stanley's not going to play tomorrow. He's in bad shape right now. And it looks like we've had a relapse, something along those lines. So Sam then took the coaches out of the team meeting room the night before the game to go discuss with the coaches. And I'll never forget my dear teammate, my dear friend, Chris Collinsworth, who was on the previous Bengals Super Bowl team in '83, stands up before the team like a leader. Now, wide receivers are not leaders. I don't know how you guys feel about that, right?
Did he have the same voice? Did he have the broadcast voice when he was?
No, he had a higher voice at that time. But he was a great teammate, and a great player.
Yeah.
When you look at him now, you'd never know that. But
right, you know, people think about it. It's like my dad now, or you being on TV a bunch. Some people don't even know
that we're players.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So he gets up in front of the team like a leader. Like your dad, I could see your dad doing this, like pulling his pants up and getting in front of us and everything as my microphone falls down.
It's all good. This show is totally.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you guys are kind of effed up a little bit.
Yeah.
So Chris Collinsworth stands up in front of us and goes, "Guys, we got to win this one for Stanley." And the whole team was like, "What? We're winning for Stanley? He's not even here anymore." Yeah, I always felt bad about it because I always felt like we were on borrowed time with Stanley. Right. And he was such a big part of our run game and our offense and our special teams that it turned out to hurt us at the end because we had about 3 third down and about 3 or 4s that normally we would make, and we didn't make those in this game, right? So we missed it. So that was my memory of the Super Bowl 23 down here in Miami.
Right.
Which wasn't a great memory.
It's hard for players, man. Yeah. And when I was in the Super Bowl, there were 2 times. One, I was in Houston playing for New England, but we were lucky to have a team with experience, so guys knew how to handle that trip. And nobody's screwing around on Bills watch.
Right.
Now, we had a young team in Philly that I would have been worried about, but we were in Minneapolis. That was the blessing.
Nobody wanted to go outside.
Yeah, you go outside and freeze to death. So who do you like Sunday? What do you see happening?
Well, you know what? I love big offensive linemen right here, Biggs.
Yeah, shout out.
I know I'm not a big fan of defensive linemen like you are because I know that's why you're going for the 49ers. But me and my man here think Patrick Mahomes and the offensive line of the Kansas City Chiefs are going to get it done, right?
Actually,
they have a great team.
Yes.
You got the I like Kansas City.
Oh, you do?
Because Ty, for me, goes to quarterback. I think San Francisco's team's better.
My biggest fear is a dominant front seven, and his biggest fear is an offense that's
all that
explosive.
Motion scares
and all that crazy quarterback stuff, right?
Yeah.
If you're the defensive line, if you're Rob Saleh, the defense coordinator of the 49ers, what is he telling his defensive linemen?
I think he's telling his defensive linemen to rush Pat smart and don't leave big B gaps. I know he's going to drop to 11.
Is he saying trust what you see, or is he saying don't trust what you see?
He's saying communicate is what I think. Yeah. You know, if a tackle's going to take the inside move, the end needs to know that, and vice versa.
Right.
You know, there can't be these big gaps for Pat to, that play he had against Tennessee
explosive
right before the half.
Yes.
I mean, that's a backbreaker.
It is, and you got to stay true to your position. You got to stay true to your what your instincts are. But the thing that makes me laugh about defensive linemen, they actually talk like they know schemes and stuff. Like, we have to know what we're doing.
Yeah, we got our book is this big.
They don't know what
our
they're
book
doing.
is this big. All we have to do is be good
dumb
looking
and being smart. They love being dumb and playing smart.
All we have to do is be good looking and athletic. Okay, guys.
Yes.
Like you offensive guys, you got these big ass books. I'm not impressed, but hey,
it's an iPad.
You couldn't handle
before you roll, because I know you're a hot ticket here.
Yeah, I'm a hot ticketer, right?
No, you are the hummus guy.
Hot
14-year,
rocks,
4-time
baby.
Pro Bowler. Come
he
on,
just told
man,
us who
legend.
Nas X was too.
So I want one reason. All the playing accolades are awesome, and I always knew you as an amazing player. But one thing is, I've kind of launched my post-career stuff and the charity stuff that I looked up to you about is the way you've grown your foundation.
Oh, thanks.
I think you've done a tremendous job. You're a benchmark for how to do that. Can you walk me through how that all got started and how it grew?
Well, it wasn't easy, but I got started in raising money for cystic fibrosis even before my son Gunnar was born.
Yeah.
It was all the way back to 1989. So 2 years later, Gunnar was born. He did not show any signs of the disease at the age of, at birth. It wasn't until 2 years later, and I became the quarterback of the Jets, that we found out that he had cystic fibrosis. And Frank DeFord was the chairman of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation back then. He had lost his daughter Alex to the disease at the age of 8. Right. So you can imagine, when you're a parent, you're thinking all the worst things. He was the second phone call I made after I called my dad and told him what Gunnar was diagnosed with. And Frank DeFord said, "Boomer, this is a blessing. I know you don't see it that way right now, but we need a personality for this disease." So here we are some 30 years later from when I first started. Gunnar is 28 now. He just started on a new drug that we've invested millions and millions and millions of dollars in. He told me about 6 months ago, he said, "Dad, my future is unlocked. finally, after a 28-year struggle with the disease. He's not cured, but this new drug has really lessened the symptoms of the disease, as to where now he's at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth getting his master's. I cried when he told me that. And he and I play ice hockey together. I know it's hard for you guys to believe and see me on ice skates.
I can't skate. So
right, but we've been doing it for years and years and years. And we had a game this past summer, and he came off the ice like I've never seen him before. He wasn't huffing, he wasn't puffing, he wasn't spitting up a lot of stuff. And I drove home with him. I said, "How you feeling?" He goes, "Man, I feel great." I said, "You want to get some pizza?" "Yeah, let's go get some pizza." And I'm like, "Do you understand what's happening to you right now?" And he had to pause for a moment. And all of a sudden, a tear came down out of his eyes. He goes, "Dad, it's finally happening." And his future has been unleashed. And he's an amazing young man. He's much like you two guys are for your parents.
I remember him running around.
That just
yes.
And it's cool because, like they told you. I mean, it's a tremendous challenge, and I'm sure you would never wish that on anybody.
Never.
But you were the right people to take it on, and I appreciate people like you stepping up and making a big difference.
amazing.
in the
Well,
world.
thanks,
So-
guys. I'll never forget, your dad retired, and I had a golf tournament in Long Island, and your dad showed up.
Yeah.
And I had this big frame made up with his jersey in the middle of it, and all these pictures around it from all the years that he had played.
Yeah.
And I presented it to him at my golf tournament. And I had another one that we were going to auction off. And your dad was up there, like, amazed that we were doing this. And I think we got like $35,000 for the other one that he signed and took a picture with the people that bought it. And I think he was amazed that I could do something like that in New York. And if it weren't for being in New York and being on the media and basically being on the Jets for those 3 years, I don't necessarily know that we would have ever gotten the amount of money, $200 million, that we have gotten.
The fan base,
It's
the market,
crazy.
It matters, and
Yeah.
you took advantage of it.
100%.
So
100%.
appreciate you, man.
Thanks, guys.
for stopping
Great to
by.
see you
Means
guys.
a
And
lot.
thanks for not jumping on me.
Yeah, you got it.
You're the man, dude. Good seeing you. It's the coolest guest I've had on Greenlight Podcast. Dr. Oz, somebody I grew up watching on TV, and I'm Mr. WebMD. I'm always, I got questions for the internet all the time about my health. Now you're sitting right here. I got a bunch of them. Some of them are hangover related.
We'll talk about hangovers, but you mentioned WebMD. So Oprah and I started a company when my show started 10 years ago called ShareCare.
Yeah.
The guy who runs it is the man who founded WebMD, Jeff
Oh,
Arnold, who is a great athlete.
He's helped me a lot.
Yeah, he has. And I'll tell you, it is remarkable how much that has changed the world. Most countries don't have the equivalent of a WebMD or a ShareCare. They got to just go figure it out for themselves.
Well, we're the country that needs it the most.
I know,
right?
exactly. Where hangovers is probably number one searched item this week, probably. There's Sickness Monday, Super Sickness Monday.
No.
14 million people will call out of work on Monday because they're sick
From the Super Bowl.
from the Super Bowl.
That's insane. That just goes to show that nobody's watching the game.
They're
Like,
partying it up. They don't remember the game.
Yeah, they don't remember the game. And yeah, I just learned this. You're a Philly guy.
I was born. I grew up in the Philadelphia area. Huge Eagles fan.
There we go.
Huge Eagles
Dude,
fan.
I love this. This is awesome.
When I came, I come to the game every year, but I came 2 years ago, and I sat with the 76ers
Oh, really?
to watch the victory, and that.
It's a playoff game.
Yeah, the Super Bowl.
Oh, you get a Super Bowl. You
Super
came to
Bowl,
the Super Bowl,
yeah.
yeah. Cold.
And that was-
It was cold there. Talk about sick. Did you know the entire team was sick?
No, are you
I mean,
kidding?
we should have called you. I would have fucking hit you up. I'd have said, hey, Doc, come help us out here.
I didn't know that.
Well, we were staying in the Mall of America,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And if you know the Mall of America, it's two hotels annexed by the mall.
Right.
And the Patriots were all sick. We were all sick. It's just germs passing, and nobody could go outside. 'Cause it's 0
Well,
degrees.
this event was in that walkway between the two hotels in Mall of America.
Yeah.
And there's a zip line there, and I
Yeah,
always
zip
think
line.
this is like a petri dish.
Yeah, dude. Come on. I mean.
Well, how did you play like that with that?
Well, I am very aware of my body, and like I'm one of those people. I wouldn't say a hypochondriac, but I'm like borderline. Especially an athlete, you're getting ready for the biggest game of your life. So when you start to feel a little run down, when the sickness is coming on, you're like common cold, whatever. I'm Friday night. I'm sitting there. I'm like, am I getting chills? Like, oh no.
Oh, no.
And there was guys getting IVs, and it was undercover kind of bad. And when a flu bug hits or something like that in a locker room, forget staff. I mean,
Yeah.
but like, it just bounces around fast.
So what did it? So they gave you IVs. They put you on antivirals. What did they do to get you guys better so you could play on Sunday?
I guess, we take a lot of Z-Packs, okay?
Yes.
You try not to take too many because then they don't work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The fluids, they say rest, but they're talking out of both sides of their mouth because they're like, get your rest, you got to be down here at 7 a.m. tomorrow and we'll be working.
Well, the
your
rule
ass
of thumb if you're sick is if the illness is above your neck, exercise.
Okay.
It actually opens up your passages. if the illness is below your neck, don't work out.
Really?
Because if you had a true virus with muscle pains and aches and intestinal, I mean, who wants to go diarrhea on a treadmill? Please.
No.
It's not good.
I've tried it. No, I'm just joking. But you're a Birds fan.
I'm a Birds fan.
You're a Birds fan, and you're an athlete.
I played football in college. Played in Philadelphia area also.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was all state. In fact, my only big concussion was in that All-Star game that I played in.
Really?
But in college, I never got hurt. Of course, I wasn't good enough to play at your level, but it was.
You actually made a good decision if you had a choice. I mean, like, I'd have rather been you than me.
But I was thinking about this recently because I get getting asked, would I recommend sports to my kids? And my son did play football. Was captain of his team in high school, and I encouraged him. And I told him what I'll tell your listeners and viewers. Football changed my life.
Yeah.
It taught me to compete. It taught me how to deal with failure. It taught me how to win. And the reason our country does so well vis-a-vis other nations is because we actually teach our youth how to do those things. There's no class in high school about leadership 101.
Yeah, no.
Right?
That's why I always think football should get a credit because I've applied things that I learned like in college playing for Al Groh at Virginia and the teamwork, the problem solving, the social stuff. I mean, like getting to go to work every day with kids that did not grow up where I grew up. I mean, it was a game-changing experience for the rest of my life, and you don't get a credit. You don't get paid, okay, that's one thing, but you don't get a credit. You spend 8 hours in the building. It's like, especially when you were at Harvard, right?
Yes.
So how do you manage that? It's crazy.
The juggling that's required for a college athlete to perform is remarkable, but I don't know of a college athlete that's not thrilled that they had the opportunity to learn those classes because the mentoring that we got I coached Restic when I was playing at Harvard was incredibly important to my future. And when I was talking to my son about playing college sports, I said, I don't even care if you're any good. Have a good coach, because no one's going to mentor you that way. And I'm on the President's Council for Fitness and Nutrition. It's a real crisis in America. We don't have any coaches. We don't have any high school coaches. We don't have any middle school coaches. A lot of people who used to coach don't have the time or the money anymore. The kids don't want to play sports.
It's a thankless job, relatively speaking.
Except if you're actually doing
teaching.
It's like teaching. But that is what made this country what it is, and we have forfeited that with the belief that test scores equate that. Listen, I studied math and biology, and I had to do it to be a doctor. I'm proud of that. I'm not in any way dismissing the value of that, but this nation will not be the nation that it could be if we don't have a rite of passage for young people to become adults.
Absolutely.
And we lose that if we don't endorse the arts and sports. I include the arts on purpose. It's not about a bunch of eggheads, banging their heads together.
No.
It's about the fact that extracurricular activities are critical to the nation.
It's funny the way we do look at art and football and the way that we treat one as acceptable kind of intellectual exercise, and it's art. I mean, it's not something academic necessarily, but neither is football. But both build a ton of skills, and I don't know why football always gets the stigma because we're all meatballs, I guess. But there's some really smart players I play with. You have to be very smart to play in a league a long time.
Sure.
To play in college and balance that time and everything at Harvard or Virginia, it's crazy.
Well, you're connecting dots. When you're playing sports and art, it's the same thing. In sports, whatever your position is, you're doing 3D spatial reconstructions. The brain is actually tasked in ways that are much more complicated than studying a differential equation in calculus. And they're both important, but they're different. And art, similarly, allows you to connect the dots for creativity that others can't. That's a real uniqueness. And you use that. I'll tell you, in heart surgery, there's a disproportionate number of athletes because so many of us actually learn to deal with the pressure of being in the OR. Think about it. We're taking a knife to your chest.
Yeah, dude.
Right? I mean, there's a fine line between arrogance and confidence there. And sports does that same thing. You got to be confident you can make it, but not so much you do foolish things to hurt your team.
Right. You can't be that gambler.
No, you can't. Don't be that person.
So you mentioned the concussion thing. That's always on the radar of everybody. Before you're the perfect guy to talk to. Did you watch the Hernandez doc?
I had Jonathan Hernandez on my show yesterday.
Okay.
And he wouldn't go on the doc.
Yeah.
Because he didn't like the way they're doing it. So we had him, and his mom has some video that audio material from prison actually talking to Aaron on it, and it is so compelling to me. His story, because it wasn't just CTE, it wasn't just traumatic encephalopathy, although that was a big part of it. He was sexually abused as a child, which Jonathan shared with me. Jonathan was his quarterback initially, so 2 years older, and felt terribly guilty that Aaron was abused and he was unaware of it. He couldn't protect his younger brother. Their father was a great athlete, but abusive. And he said he slapped the gay out of you. I'm sorry, that's his word, not mine.
Ridiculous.
That's how they phrased it. So he couldn't be honest about who he was. So he lived a lie. and it created a conflict in his mind that started to expose itself when he was playing in Florida.
Yeah.
And that team had 20 people go to the pros. I mean, these guys were, Tim Tebow was his quarterback. You know, he had everything. A 5-year, $40 million contract for the Pats, and a great athlete, and yet he threw it away because he couldn't live the lie anymore. Yeah. And I think that's a life lesson for all of us, which is why the Aaron Hernandez story is not about good or bad for the NFL. It's about the fall of a potential great American, what went wrong.
And I also think like it's a lesson with people, and I'm not a CT denier, and I mean, tau protein is observable in the brain. You can't do it while we're living, obviously, but if you cut me open right now, I might have some in my head.
Yeah.
Now,
I might have some.
You might have some. We're acting normally, so my issue is always like the jumping the gun on predicting a behavioral outcome. Like, I don't think we're there yet. What do you say?
Not there at all. It also depends what part of your brain develops the most impact. The prefrontal cortex, where Aaron did have a lot of damage at autopsy, is the decision-making part of the brain. Right. And so Jonathan was pretty honest about saying that he does believe it influenced his decision-making process. And Jonathan shared some insights about what his brother was going through after he was convicted of killing his best friend. And why do you kill your best friend? Basically his brother-in-law he killed. Right. And that's not normal behavior. Right. So I think it was part of it, but it wasn't
a lot of traumas. That's the whole thing. Is like we just ignore all these, like, for a society that wants to talk about mental health and say we need to get better at it. We pop on the Hernandez documentary, and most people's takeaway is his brain was broken. There were 10 traumas in his life.
Over and over again.
I stopped counting. I mean, and it's the complete picture of, you know, what I hate is when somebody tells me is that, like, I played football for 11 years, so I'm going to automatically lose my agency at some point. You know, there's plenty of good examples of guys that played for a long time. We just don't know enough yet. That's where I'm at. So
I think a lot of the attention shouldn't be on professional football players who made a decision as an adult. And to your point, I think most will be okay. But we don't know, and that mystery is fear. It induces fear. But I don't want to have moms not let their kids play football anymore. Right. That's not good for any of us. And that's going to happen if we're not serious about the illness and start doing some investigations about how to diagnose it earlier. As an example, we know that young kids, if they get hurt, they'll bounce back pretty quickly. But you got to make a diagnosis. Right. And I know a lot of young people in the pros don't want to get pulled out of a game because that's their chance. Right. And so we need to make professional football players feel comfortable telling the truth if they've been hurt.
And that's a big stigma that was around for a long time. And you see it with guys on the sideline that don't look right and they don't want to come out of the game because it's the ultimate, like, peer pressure sport, and it's the alpha male, like, I can't show weakness.
If you had took a bad hit and had a head injury that you thought was concussion, would you pull yourself out of a game?
If it was bad enough, I would, depending on the game.
Well,
and that's the problem. Is like, if I get dinged in the Super Bowl, good luck. You got to pull me out, and I think that's where, you know, they have to take it out of players' hands. You know, they have to say, you know, we're going to take this decision out of these guys' hands because we're ingrained to just push through everything.
Well, the good news is we're going to have the ability to diagnose tau protein release on a blood test probably.
So we're close.
We're getting close.
Generation away?
Oh, no, a couple years. Not even a couple years. I mean, I saw some really exciting data recently. It could be a year or 2 years. But that'll help. But ultimately, I think the best way of figuring out that you had a concussion is your processing time for decisions. And those are tests you can do right now. They ought to be enforced not just at the NFL, but throughout all sports. And, you know, give yourself a week or two off, and you'll be able to bounce back and not have had a long-term impact, most likely from the concussion. All NFL players should be on an antioxidant regimen and be taking omega-3s during the season because it helps the brain rebuild itself. And then there's going to be some point where you say, okay, it's just too much a risk for you. As great as you are, your career is now over. And that's okay because I want you to be around and play the long game.
I want to play with my kids, and I want to be present. You mentioned we're talking about concussions. I feel like I have a concussion right now, Doc, but I have a hangover. Okay, I didn't realize that martinis are more than one unit of alcohol usually.
Oh my goodness.
So my question about hangovers, and I've been feeling this way a long time, is if there are all these secret hangovers, like, why do I hear so many cures, these hangover, you know, fixes? None of them work. If one worked, everybody would be doing it. The only solution is not to drink, right?
Very smart drinker. Most people do not acknowledge that. In medicine, is an adage: if you've got more than one solution, you have no good ones.
Dr. Oz called me a smart drinker. This is great.
But here's the thing. The reason you get a hangover, it's getting to the pathophysiology.
I love pathophysiology.
Okay. So the brain is like a walnut. It shrivels down when you're hungover because it's primarily about dehydration, but the coconut skull stays the same. So you're basically shaking that walnut inside of his coconut.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
It hurts, right. So a couple things. First off, if you can alternate alcohol with water continually through the evening, that's really helpful. Because if you're not dehydrated, you won't have a problem. Number two, clear alcohols are much safer. When you have darker alcohols, the brandies, the whiskeys, that congener, which is what makes it dark, is a toxin. It's actually really difficult for the body to deal with that. Clear alcohol, tequila is my favorite.
Okay.
You
What
get
tequila do you like?
I like Don Cuervos. I like them all.
You like them all?
Yeah, I'm a big tequila fan. And
Okay.
part of the reason I love it is it's got agave in it. It comes from agave, so it's a little bit sweetish, but it's not. There's not more calories than other alcohol. So 66 calories for an ounce.
Yeah.
You can put a little seltzer water or lime, and that's all you need. So if you're on a diet, and that's why all the women love tequila. That's why the space is exploding.
The people in great shape are all drinking
Tequila.
What's up, dude? Prince is here. I got Dr. Oz here on the show. My buddies, this is the great thing about this week is you run into all your friends. So,
or you just serve drinks, you'd be all set.
no, it would be great. Now my follow-up question on the clear liquor is, I eat the olives out of the martini glass. Is that safe? They say lemons are the most unsafe thing in a restaurant.
Lemons are unsafe because of the rind.
Okay.
I'm not concerned about the olives as much.
Okay, good,
Because we don't all handle the olive.
Real quick, before I let you go,
Marijuana, I see.
But I got marijuana on here. I made news because evidently I'm like a serial killer because I smoke marijuana.
Yeah, I saw it.
I came out and revealed that
So why do you smoke
the
marijuana?
devil's lettuce? I was
Devil's lettuce.
Yeah, I was an insomniac like my whole life. Also helps me manage my stress. I have anxiety. Not terrible, not debilitating. And Brandon Brooks, who plays for the Eagles, had to miss a game because of panic attacks this year. Not like that, but my whole life, trouble sleeping, etc. For me, it settles me down at the end of the night, and I'm very thoughtless as I drift off.
How old were you when you started smoking marijuana?
Golly, first year of college.
Okay, so a couple of things about marijuana. I'm a big fan of medical marijuana.
Yeah.
I think it is a hypocrisy that we will be embarrassed about for generations if we don't deal with the reality that medical marijuana is safer than opiates. A lot of pro athletes do better with medical marijuana than the drugs they might take for chronic aches and pains. Insomnia is probably a pretty good tool. Anxiety, for sure, it's effective on. And we should be using it in older folks as well because some of the chronic issues they're facing are better dealt with marijuana. It's safer. That stated, I don't want young people smoking recreationally.
I agree. Well, there's a brain development thing,
exactly.
right? Yeah, the teenagers, it's not good.
And you don't want to grow up thinking you got to smoke pot to be able to get through life. If by the time you're in college, that's mostly gone.
Yeah.
But I don't want high schoolers feeling that's part of the equation.
I agree.
But you get past that, then most people are on the same page here. 34 states have embraced medical marijuana.
Yeah.
I actually believe we ought to make it acceptable for older folks because they're safe.
Yeah.
Let people who are struggling with aging issues smoke marijuana. The government has got to get out of the way. People at the DEA, NFDA are not against marijuana.
Yeah.
They just want to regulate it, which
right.
I think they're right on. And CBD is a problem because CBD, half of it's fake.
It's all fake.
So-
I get the good stuff, the full spectrum.
Right, but
real
most people
good
don't know
stuff.
how to get the
Most
good stuff.
people are going to a gas station, taking this bullshit, and then also these vape pens, that are killing people, the vitamin E oil in there.
They ought to
So
regulate it.
It's
Thank you.
safe. Thank you.
We agree.
Yeah,
The
Dr.
devil's
Oz,
lettuce.
man, this is awesome. This is the man here. Philly fan too. What a show, guys. I mean, not bad for a hangover and absolutely no plan. I mean, we were just running around grabbing people, and there's plenty of great people to see and talk to here. We'll be back with more later today in some form or fashion, so keep an eye out. Content will keep rolling from Miami.